It's that time of year again. It's the time where I have to go through all of my knits and see what's going to stay in my closet and see what's getting given away. If you're new here, I have been knitting since I was about 10 years old, and I've gone a little crazy in the past 5 years knitting sweaters, so I've built up quite the collection. I've already given away quite a bit of the items that I've made, but I still have a lot. And storage space be precious, so I gotta be a little choosy about what I choose to keep in my closet. On top of that, I do a mixture of knitting for the process, knitting for the project, and doing a combo of both. So I do have a fair amount of knits that I don't have any intention of wearing, I never had any intention of wearing, and it's time to set those aside. And what I'm planning on doing with the sweaters that I declutter is giving them to friends and family who have expressed interest in wanting a sweater that I've made. I do have extra yarn for a lot of these, so for the ones I'm planning on giving away, I do want to make note of which ones I have more yarn for or could procure more yarn, because I'd like to make them longer and make the sleeves longer because I have an incredibly short torso and very short arms. So I'd like to spend the next couple months kind of adjusting them and making them more wearable for, a normal person. What's normal? These are in no particular order. I should just start, right? Let's start. This vest has some fit issues, as you can see. It's cropped even on me, significantly cropped, and the back is really long due to the way that the short rows were done on this. The intention being it would push up the back neckline, but it really just made the back neck longer. I have a lot of videos where I talk about how I address said fit issues, and I'll talk about this one specifically in the future. So right now I'm actually working on a replacement for this. I'm using a black non-superwash merino yarn and hopefully recreating it to fit a bit better. So once I'm done recreating it, I'm gonna give this away. So I'm gonna put this in the giveaway pile. I think the last time I did a trying on all my tops video, this was actually a sweater with longer sleeves and a different collar. I ended up taking off the collar and redoing it for something a bit more comfortable, and it's a lot more comfortable. I'm gonna keep this. I still like the fit of it. I don't wear it all the time. I don't really grab for this very much, so I need to figure out why that is, because every time I put it on, I'm like, ooh, this is really comfortable. But I do wear this, just not, I think, as often as I would maybe like. So I'm gonna keep it. This is a crochet sweater that I kind of improvised last summer, and I wore it a ton after finishing it, and now I just don't reach for it. I don't know why that is, because every time I put it on, I still like it. So I gotta diagnose what the deal is with this issue. I do wear my knits all the time. Anything that I've made, I'm gonna use the term knits interchangeably. This is crochet, we know that. But I do really love this. I like the way it feels. It's somewhat heavy, and I do like really heavy knits. I really do like how extremely cropped it is. It's fun for summer, but the issue is if I go to reach something, it's just showing off everything. So I gotta be really careful with what I'm wearing under this. So I might consider making a different version of this that is not quite as wide, and maybe doing set-in sleeves, just so that when I reach it doesn't come up all the way. So I think I'm gonna keep this, but I'm gonna put it in a pile. Maybe I should start a separate pile of things I want to recreate but make them better. I do know someone who would wear this as is though, so as soon as I do recreate it, or maybe I'll just take measurements and notes and pictures and stuff, and I'll give it to them before I end up recreating it. But I do like it. I actually really like the colors. I really wasn't sure, but I love it. But I do like the way it fits and looks just like this. I mean, it's so relaxed and casual. This is one of my best fitting knit tops. I'm definitely gonna get a lot of wear out of this. With my return to office, I'm going into the office at work all the time now instead of working mostly remote. And this is a really good wearing to work kind of shirt, because my work gets pretty warm and I don't want to be wearing full-on sweaters there as much as I would love to. I think if my work dialed up the AC, I'd be more willing to go in, because I get really crabby when I'm hot. I'm for sure gonna keep this top, but I gotta give it a little TLC because it's pillin'. It's definitely, it be pillin'. But I love this kind of lace motif. When it's all over, it's a little bit too visually overwhelming for me. As cool as it looks on other people, it's not as much my style. So I like when it's contained in just a section of the sweater. I think it'd also be cool to do something like this, but in the reverse, where it's stockinette and then you just have the lace kind of running along the sides. I think that would be really cool. I really like this tank top. When I finished it, I didn't like it as much because I had some, body self-confidence issues, but since have kind of worked through a lot of those. And I do like the way that I look in this. When I wear it with a proper bra, I don't normally wear it with, this is my trying on sweaters for a video tank top, because it's like a full-on crop top. I made this with Drops Bell, and I have machine washed it so many times because I get really sweaty in the summer. So if I have a summer knit, I need to be able to machine wash it. I air dry everything, even my regular clothes, but I'm unwilling to hand wash all of my clothes at this point in my life. And this has held up really well. I think I made this 2-3 years ago. Whenever Veronica Lindbergh came out with this pattern, essentially, is when I made it. Why are little kids allowed to scream off the balcony? I want to scream off of my balcony, but I get in trouble. I'm jealous. That's what I am. I'm jealous that they just get to scream. I think that's my thing with kids. I'm jealous. I'm so jealous. They get away with so much stuff that I want to be doing. But because they're kids and they don't know any better, they're allowed to do it. Anyways, this is soft, but it's also like, it's a cotton linen blend, cotton linen viscose blend, I think. So to some, it might feel a little rough, but it's certainly not itchy. So I like this. It's aged well. I don't know anybody else's experience with this yarn type. I use it a lot because I haven't noticed any pilling issues on it. It requires minimal upkeep. It's easy to wash. But when I do work with it, I intentionally make something a size larger than I want it to be, knowing it's going to shrink after I wash it the first time. But I personally would recommend this yarn. I think it ages really well. Oh, and I'm keeping this in case I didn't make that clear. I made this earlier this year, I think maybe in the winter at some point in time, and I wear it a lot. I wear it all the time. I specifically adjusted the pattern so that it would work with a lot of my like bras, which is really important. If you're making tank tops, make sure it works with like the undergarments you're most comfortable in. Otherwise, you're just never going to wear it. And honestly, this is the first time I've tried it on with this one, and I'm kind of not hating it. I imagine if this was like a really like a more fun color, that would be such a cool look. I do have this, I think, in like a bright red color and a navy blue. Maybe it's time to do some styling experimentation. I love this. I wear it all the time. Same Drops Bell material. I want to try some other cotton linen blends because at this point I haven't really explored any other cotton linen yarns, so I don't know if it's just that yarn fiber combination is just this good, or if it's like this brand specifically. Drops, you'll see I have a lot of Drops yarn in my collection, and that's because I'm kind of on a budget, and a lot of the knitwear designers that I followed earlier on when I started getting more into garment making are based out of Northern Europe, and they use a lot of Drops yarn, so that was the only recommendation I was getting, and I didn't know what was available in the United States. So I'm gonna look for more local yarns moving forward, but for now, try not to judge too hard by the amount of Drops yarn in my collection, although, like I said, I do like this yarn. Oh, a tip though, if you're planning on making this top, is keep an eye on the strap length. It's gonna stretch out over time depending on the material that you're using, so just be very aware of that. There are options you can do, like adding elastic, which I do on like the previous tank top that I was wearing has elastic sewn into it to keep the shape in place, and that made a really big difference. But because this is a V-neck, the elastic shaping can be a little bit more difficult to really get just right, and luckily this fits me as is, but I think if it does stretch out any more over time, I'm gonna be adding elastic to this. Another option I could do, given the stitch type that's on the edges here, is taking a crochet hook and just crocheting, like doing a slip stitch or single crochet along all the edges to sort of tighten it up, especially on the armholes too. But I love this. I do have more of this yarn in a navy blue, so I have been debating if I want to make this in navy blue. And I also would like to adjust this pattern to be a dress, because I think it'd be really cute if I wore like a t-shirt underneath it and had like tights on. That would be really cute. These are my knits that have been in sweater jail for the past 6 months. This bag has not been opened in 6 months. After 6 months, I inspected all the knits in here. I did not find any evidence of moths, larvae, eggs, thank goodness. Yay. But just to be extra super duper safe, put these in a hot car for 3 days on like the hottest days of the year so far. Because that's meant to kill any moths at any stage in their life cycle, to my understanding. And then also put them in the freezer. I did all the things, basically all the things. I didn't find any evidence of moths, and I did all the stuff to kill moths just in case, and I'm going to be super duper washing these. So I am so happy that the moths did not find my knits. I did get some people saying that it's a really bad idea to keep your knits in vacuum seal bags, so I'm not gonna recommend that you do that, I guess. I have a hard time recommending stuff on here because people, no matter what you say in the world of knitting, someone's gonna be like, no, that's the worst thing you can do. You should basically set yourself on fire. So do your own research, but my personal opinion is there's no winning in this scenario. I want to protect these from moths. The best way for me to keep a moth from getting into this that I can afford to do financially is putting them in a vacuum seal bag. I'm not vacuum sealing every ounce of air out of these, so I do give them a little room to breathe, so I'm not crushing my sweaters too much, but I'd rather have my sweaters be crushed than eaten by moths. And I did open this bag about once a month and kind of shook it around so that I could get some airflow going in there, get some new air, and that seemed to work out well. I haven't noticed any storage issues. So anything that you do, like preventative measures for moths, is gonna have like, you know, your give and take. So it's totally up to you to decide. That's enough of my moth tangent. Time to try on some clothes. This is for sure a keep, no doubt. This is my most worn sweater, I think, every winter. It's incredibly comfortable. I've found that I haven't been loving wearing Drops Air garments as much lately. I don't think I'm going to be using that material much more in the future once I use up my existing stash, because it's it's Drops Air. It's very light, airy, and fluffy, and I found that I tend to prefer my garments have a little bit more weight to them, but for some reason this one just worked out. It worked out. I'm guessing it's because I went down my usual needle size for this type of yarn, so the fabric is a little bit denser than I'm used to. This was also, I think, my first true scrappy sweater, and I'm glad it worked out well. So the sweater itself is a sibling sweater by Laura Penrose, and it has these like awesome shoulder detailing. I love the increasing in the back. I believe this is referred to as the European construction. It also goes by another name that I can't remember. Some people were really nice. I asked what this construction type was called, and some people were really nice in the comment section, helped me out with that. So I really like this sweater pattern. I've done it before, I'll do it again. But the actual scrappy portion is inspired by Veronica Lindbergh's Stay Up Till Dawn sweater. For sure a keep. This is my other sibling sweater. This was done in a superwash merino, and I'm so on the fence with superwash merino. I'm for sure keeping this, by the way. But my thing with superwash merino, very drapey. It gives me that like heaviness that I'm looking for in a sweater. So I love the way it feels as a whole, but it has this like squeaky plasticky quality that I don't love. It doesn't bother me too much on this sweater, I think particularly because I specifically made the sleeves shorter, so it's not like fussing around with my hands. This is my like, I need to get stuff done, I'm working on something, but I also want to be cute in a sweater, and I don't want to get my sleeves dirty. And I'm definitely a sleeve roller upper, so this is a good rolling up my sleeves kind of sweater. This one's a really great basic just because it's simple, black, white stripe, it goes with everything, super easy to style. This is the perfect cold day, I want to curl up on the couch sweater. And it is the best way to work with boucle yarn in my experience. So if you want that look of boucle, like the really fluffiness, which is a good mohair alternative if you're someone that has sensitivities or allergic to mohair, I like using alpaca boucle. And I held it with another strand of merino yarn. That makes boucle so much easier to work with. So a lot of boucle yarns, especially Drops boucle, it's yarn that's been spun in such a way that it has a bunch of little loops in it. So when you're working with it just by itself, your needles easily get stuck in those loops and it can be really frustrating to work with. But pairing it with another yarn made it a million times easier to work with, where I was very unbothered, very little like needle getting stuck in the loops. I was able to get in a flow state without getting like messed up too much working on this. So if I work with boucle in the future, I'm definitely going to be holding it with another strand of just merino or some other fiber that is not boucle. The only issue with this is it's white and it's boucle, so it grabs a lot of stuff and it gets dirty pretty easily. So I'm going to try taking a lint roller to this and a pill shaver and just cleaning it up and seeing how much that helps. But I'd personally recommend other folks, if you have pets, knit this in the same color that your pet is, or just accept the fact that it's going to grab onto a bunch of little stuff over time. This sweater, on the other hand, I only used boucle yarn, and this was a big learning opportunity and why I will not probably be working with boucle on its own for a while. I do like this sweater, but I'm kind of on the fence about it because I don't wear it very often. It is so warm, so insanely warm, that I only want to wear it in the winter, but I can't wear a jacket over it because it's so wide. It was my first time doing a circular yoke sweater, and I made it like just too wide, which is a common issue with circular yoke. It takes a minute to get the hang of what fit works best for you. I found now with most knitting patterns, I remove one of the repeats. So if I'm following a circular yoke pattern, it really depends on the pattern, but for like a DK weight, it might have 4 repeats in the front, 4 in the back. I'll take one of them away in the back. My other thing with this is when it's just the Drops alpaca boucle on its own, it can be just a teensy bit itchy. I'm getting just a hint of an itch, and it's enough for me to not really want to wear. So I think I'm gonna give this away. That's hard. I've been hanging on to this one, but I just haven't been wearing it, so I really should be giving it away. Something else to note about this material is it really does flatten over time. It wasn't just the vacuum storage, it was like this before, but the material gets less and less fluffy, and it's incredibly flat, and it feels really thin, but I actually kind of like that. I've also noticed it felts over time, even if I'm really careful with the washing process. This has never gone in the washer before, only hand wash with like minimal agitation. Do with that information what you will, and it also does pill quite a bit. I should say, I also do love the shape. It's definitely too wide around the waist, and I wish it wasn't as much, but combining a circular yoke with a boucle yarn that really hides the stitch definition is such a good look. I love it, because it just looks completely seamless. It feels to me like it looks like it's formed to my body shape, and I think that's a really cool look. So I want to try something like this again in the future, but I would go about it a little differently. This is a giveaway. This is definitely a giveaway. As much as I like it, I just don't reach for it ever. And it was one of those process knits more so than the actual product. I love the color, so I want to get some more of this color in my closet. But for me, it's the drops air is just too light. And on something like this where it doesn't have sleeves and it's a V-neck, there's just not enough surface area to really weigh it down for the way I like. But a lot of people really do like that like light, airy feeling. So this is going to be one of those giveaway projects. I'm going to see if I can maybe undo the double knitting and use that excess yarn to do twisted rib instead on the edges. And hopefully I'll have enough yarn to add a couple inches to the bottom here, because again, it's pretty cropped, and the people I know in my life that would wear this wouldn't wear it as cropped as it currently is. Also, I mentioned it in the video where I worked on this, but this is inspired by Howl's Moving Castle, like the star people in Howl's Moving Castle. And I really do like the starburst because they also kind of look like flowers. Okay, this one I'm really on the fence about, and I feel like I should just give it away. I should just let go, give it away. It's fine. I'll try again in the future. I'd like to reknit the sweater, as much work as it was. Oh, I don't want to remake it, but I do really like the look of it. Here are my issues with this sweater. So this is done with Happy Place, which is a merino cotton blend. I do normally love a merino cotton blend yarn, but it's a little bit more rough than I was expecting. I've worked with other merino cotton blend yarns and they don't feel as rough as this one does. So it's not very soft on the skin, which is usually the draw with a merino cotton blend. I do have this yarn in another color, so I want to work with that in a project and see, is it just the yarn or maybe this particular color is just a bit more rough than the other versions? Because, you know, when you work with a certain yarn, sometimes different color options that they have feel a little different. My other issue with this one is just a fit thing. The raglan seams on here are really tight. And I know a lot of people have had an issue with that. So I don't know necessarily what I would do to alleviate that. So I think if I were to knit this again, I would go with a stretchier stitch type in the raglan seam. And hopefully that would help because it didn't really stretch out or drape as much. And I also think that Veronica Lindbergh, she was smart when she made this pattern, and she recommends using, I think she recommended a mohair merino blend, like one strand of merino and one strand of mohair. I think that would be much better for this. I think you get better drape along the raglan seams and it would stretch out in a way that just fits a little bit better. But my issue with the raglan being so tight is it kind of makes my bust look bigger because it's creating sort of a bubbling out in the front portion. And that is not a part of my body that I would like to look bigger. I'm really going for the opposite effect here. So this is definitely one that I'm talking more about it, I'm feeling better about the decision to give it away. As awesome as it looks, that's the hard part, and it took forever. So I don't want to make it again, but I also do. We'll see. Life is long. This top is a definite keep. It was my very first YouTube video. I'm still really proud of how that video came out, for my first video especially. My only complaint with this one and why I don't wear it as much is I wish it were an inch longer. It's just a tiny bit too short. I do remember the yarn that I used, so I might go to the yarn store and see if I can get my hands on another skein of this. I don't remember the dye lot, but that's not a huge concern for me because I think I would just do the ribbing as being 2 inches instead of just 1 inch of ribbing. And if you're using the same yarn in a different dye lot, everyone has a different preference and tolerance for different colors within the same knit. But for me, hiding the color change in the ribbing would just I would not notice. I would not be bothered by that. I can't imagine the difference between dye lots would be so extreme in this particular yarn that would be an issue for me. But other than that, I really like this knit. I like the color too. This is my halibut sweater. This is my husband's halibut sweater. You would have to pry this out of my cold, dead hands. I love this sweater so much. And I just love circular yoke stranded color work. It always looks good to me. It is so my style. They're fun to knit. Love it. I think this is the only other colorwork circular yoke sweater that I've done, and I want to reknit it. I made a mistake when I made it because I had a lot of Drops Merino in my yarn stash, and I had a mixture of Drops Extra Fine Superwash Merino and Drops Daisy. They were unlabeled and the two colors were identical. I was so certain that all the yarn was the Extra Fine Superwash Merino. I was wrong. A portion of the sweater has been done in non-superwash and a portion has been done in superwash, and they age very differently. Superwash maintains its stitch definition over time, and merino tends to, like non-superwash, I'm noticing between the two is pilling a lot more and it loses its stitch definition over time. I'm not super bothered by pilling, but if you are, just, something to keep in mind. So it seems kind of ridiculous to make this statement, but I would like to reknit this one because I just love it. It's my favorite like Christmas sweater. I wear it with this red pair of pants that I made and it brings me joy. Brings me so much joy. I didn't think that the difference in yarn would bother me as much. I realized as soon as I finished the sweater that they were two different yarns, and I was like, I don't think it's gonna bother me. It does. It does, and I'm sad about that. This is the first ever knit sweater pattern that I followed, and I love it. The sweater itself is super duper warm, but it does fit really well under a jacket, just with the way the sleeves are done, everything. It just worked out so well. It's my first time doing brioche, and the brioche has definitely flattened over time, again, pre-vacuum sealing the bag. In fact, trying all these on, I haven't noticed them being like crushed any more than they were before. I still have to weave in ends on the sleeve. That's insane. I've made this so many years ago. I like this. It's due for a pill shave. I am so warm. It is so warm outside right now. This was a bad day to do this, but that's fine. It needed to be done. I love the color of this so much. There's not a whole lot of purple in my closet, and making this I was just like, yes, I need just a little bit more purple. Let's do it. So this is a keep. I like wearing this on walks in the winter because I usually just throw a t-shirt on underneath and I don't have to wear anything else. This was one of my first ever sweaters. It wasn't the first one, but I think it was like second or third. It was the second one I started, and I think the third one I finished. And I finished it when I was recovering from a surgery. Love the look of it. The look is so cool. Oh my gosh. It's the Polaroid sweater based on the Polaroid logo. It's amazing. But I didn't know enough at the time about knitting construction. I have since learned a lot. And the issue with this is the raglan seams. So I increased every single round. If you know anything about raglan seams, you typically increase every other round, which actually makes me really sad because when you increase every round, the seam looks so good and so clean, but when you increase every other round, the seam doesn't look as clean. So I'm devastated because I wish all of my raglan seams looked like this polished, but it made it way too wide. I do know someone that I think would really like this sweater, hopefully, so I'll ask them if they would like it. And I have more of the Drops alpaca in this white color. So for them, I'll make the sleeves a couple inches longer and I'll make the body a lot longer because it's incredibly cropped. This was my second attempt at making the Polaroid sweater. It turned out so much better. Not only is the fit just fantastic, it's exactly what I wanted, but the yarn I used, oh, so soft. Cotton merino. I have noticed a lot more pilling on this than just the alpaca one, but like I said before, I'm not super bothered by pilling. I have a pill shaver when I do get bothered by it. I usually end up pill shaving all of my sweaters in one go at the beginning of the winter and in the middle, and then as needed if I'm really bothered by it. So I don't mind that at all, but this is going to be one of my most worn sweaters. I just finished this actually not too long ago, and I've been wearing it so much. This is obviously a keep. I don't think I've been saying that for all the sweaters, if it's a keep or not, but I hope it's obvious based on my commentary which ones I am keeping and which ones I am not. Crochet granny square vest. I'm obsessed with this. I love it so much. I was super duper sick of granny squares by the time I was done with this because my initial intention was to make a sweater, and I was like, no, I cannot summon up the energy to make a full sweater. So this is gonna be a sweater vest whether I like it or not, and I like it. It definitely makes me want to do another granny square project. Maybe that'll be like a once a year max kind of deal. I love the side split seam. I think it just looks really cute, and love the way it was sewn, and did knit mitered edges. Some people were really salty about the fact that I did knitting edges on this, and they're like, you could have crocheted that. Boo-hoo, it looks fantastic with the knit edges. I love it. This is your sign. If you have both skills, combine your knitting and crochet. They elevate each other so nicely. Okay, this sweater is a tough one for me. I love it. This is based on one of the sweaters in Friends that Rachel Green wore in, I think, season 1. I love how it turned out. Visually, it's so cute. But The neckline. I didn't do enough neckline shaping on this. I should have lowered it because it's too high up on my neck and I'm not a huge fan of that. So I think this might just be a giveaway. I will say I did actually wear this a bunch the year that I finished it, so I have gotten my wear out of it. And this is Drops Daisy. So it's a non-superwash merino and it does pill quite a bit, like noticeably more than the superwash merino, which is normal. I'm mentioning what pills and what doesn't and how things age because it's really hard to know if you haven't worked with the yarn before, and it takes so much time to knit a sweater. I just want people to be aware before they end up buying a yarn what their expectations should be going in. So I do think this ages well if you're willing to do some pill shaving, although I think it does have a tiny bit of felting as well, despite the fact that I am very careful when I wash my sweaters. This sweater I like a lot, but I'm not keeping it. I don't feel like I have a good enough reason to get rid of it, but my gut is telling me I should because I'm just ready to move on from it. I have plenty of really basic sweaters that I wear, and I don't really need more. What I like is the fit. I love the fit. I like the color. I think the color looks really good on me. It's solid cotton, so it's nice that I can wear it in the summer. My main issue is the neckline, and it's a little bit too high and it's too thick and stiff. So I would definitely do just a stockinette stitch rolled hem on this one if I were to do it again in the future. I would love to do another really loose cotton sweater, and I think that's my main issue with this one is on top of the neckline just being a little bit too high for my taste, the cotton that I used is really thick. It's been discontinued, so you can't get it anymore. But because the cotton is so thick, it is a bit warm. Like, I'm warm wearing this now, even though it's 100% cotton. So if I were to do another really basic summer cotton sweater, I would go with a thinner cotton for sure. I also could have done better. You can see the stitches stretching out here. This is one of my earlier sweaters, so I could have done better with the way that I did the collar and making it all look cleaner. But I do really love the color. I love the fit. It's the perfect, like, this amount of ease is exactly what I want in a sweater. All right, my Malaga sweater. This one I got some complicated emotions. I love it. I really love the way it feels, the way it fits. I love doing this construction. This was inspired by my Crochet Belcher sweater, and this is a knit version of that, and so I really do love this construction. I think the seam in the middle with the color work, it works really well, and it really balances it out, so it's fun. If I use like too much yellow on one side, then I can make sure that I'm not using as much yellow on the other side, and you're able to kind of fix your color mistakes as you go along. The issue I have with this one and why I will not be keeping it is because I used too many colors outside of my color palette. It was an experiment into, can I deviate more from my color palette and still really like what I'm wearing? It's just too much for me. To me, it's irrelevant whether or not I look good in this. I don't feel as good in these colors. So black, green, yellow, these are all colors that I don't really wear that often. And it's just, there's too much of them in here for me. So I'd like to retry making this, but using a different color palette. Probably one more similar to my Crochet Belcher sweater, because I did use green in that one, but I used a lot less green, so it wasn't as like standoutish, and it was a lot more muted of a green color. This is definitely way more saturated. And then I didn't use black in the other one. I used a really dark navy, and I liked that look too. So this is a knit it again, do a different color palette, as much as I do honestly love this. This was a process knit. I want to make it, I want to have fun, I want to experiment, but I knew pretty early on that I wasn't going to be wearing it. I don't make very many cardigans. I'm not a huge fan of cardigans. I have 2 store-bought cardigans in my collection that I've owned, both of which since like high school. And I barely wear those, but they are very basic cardigans, so they suit all my cardigan needs. I don't need any more, and I don't love making them. So while I do love the look of this, and I think it's really cool, I like the long one, it's too heavy for me, and I just don't reach for it. Not much to say beyond that. As much as I do, I think it looks really cool. I like the length and the split hem. My only thing is I went shorter with it because it's cotton, so I figured it would stretch out over time. And granted, I did not wear this a lot, so maybe it would stretch out more over time. But I wish it was longer. I want it to be like basically on the floor. So this is a giveaway. This one's pretty wrinkled from being in storage. This is a giveaway. I need to stop doing the double knitting edges. I pretty much never like that, which should be my sign to kind of let go and not be doing it as much anymore. I liked the idea that I had for this. You can see the back. I think you can kind of get the vibe I was going for, but the execution was just not there on this one. I have not worn this. I think maybe I've wore it once. If I were to do something like this again, I think I would go for a high neckline and then go really low and plunging on the back, like way more than it currently is. And just have it, I don't know, tie or something in the middle. And there's curling issues. There's just so many issues with this one that it would just be completely redesigned. Everything would need to be changed in order to make it work. For sure, this is a giveaway. And this one I will be giving away. It's also made with the Drops Bell yarn, but this one shrunk so much, like so much more than my other Drops Bell like items. So I don't know what the deal is with this, but it shrunk a lot, and it's not the fit that I want. It's not what I was going for. I was hoping for something really airy, easy, breezy, but when a material like this shrinks, not only is the physical garment a lot smaller than intended, but the fiber itself gets a lot more dense and pulled together, so it becomes a lot stiffer than intended. So it's not bad, but this would need to go on a much smaller person in order to have that like more breezy, easy, like summery, flowy vibe that I was initially going for. And this is the last one. If you've seen any of my recent videos and I finished a sweater that is not being shown here, it's probably because I'm recording this before I actually finish that item. Time is different with YouTube. I kind of release stuff in various orders. Like I finish the video and then I decide in what order I want to release them. So sometimes things get released like 2 months after I did it, and sometimes it's like a day or two after I did it. But anyways, this is the last sweater. I love this one. This is my like easy everyday wear. Very simple raglan sweater. It brings me joy. Wow, I think my downstairs neighbor is in their feels. They're listening to some very dramatic feeling-based songs. I finished the sweater not too long ago and I'm still really loving it. It's incredibly comfortable, it's easy to wear, and I really did like how the combination of twisted rib and a rolled hem, love how that turned out on this. All right, these are my giveaways. I'm so glad I was able to find plenty. I was worried at the beginning of this video. I'm like, I'm keeping a lot of these. Hopefully I'll be able to declutter some of them, but I'm glad I got a decent giveaway pile so I can make some space in my closet for future sweaters that I'm working on. I'm definitely at the point with my knitting where I have enough. I have enough stuff, and there will always be more projects that I want to make and more things I want to add to my wardrobe, and that's fun and I want to lean into that. But because I have enough, I'm feeling way more inclined to do gift knitting projects. And I might even approach it from the perspective of, hey, here's the sweater that I found. I really love it. I want to make it, but I don't want to wear it. Would you like to wear something like this? And have them pick maybe the colors and the yarn. I think that would be a cool approach to gift knitting. I'm going to spend the rest of this year hopefully adjusting a lot of the sweaters that I'm planning on giving away, making them longer, making the sleeves longer. I can't do that with all of them, but I can do that with, I think, probably half of them. So I'm going to focus really hard on that for the rest of the year and combine that with my regular knitting projects. That's it for me. Thank you for joining me as usual. Do I have anything else to say? I don't. I'm doing a part 2 to this video where I'm going to go through all my knit accessories as well. I was going to do it all in one video, but this is getting incredibly long. I've been recording for like 2 hours. So I imagine at best I might get this video down to half an hour. But if I do all the accessories, it's going to be an hour-long video. So we're doing 2. I hope I didn't forget a knit. I probably did. I'm sure there's one in storage somewhere. I don't have anything else to say. If you have the energy to do so, do something nice for someone else today. And if you don't have the energy, maybe try and do something nice for yourself, even if it's just going to bed a little earlier.
Darte mis noches.